Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvina Vadhitamastu ma Vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti. Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Shruti Smriti Purananam Alayam Karunalayam Namami Bhagavat Padam Shankaram Loka Shankaram Shankaracharyam Keshavam Badarayanam Sutra Bhashya Kritau Vande Bhagavantau Punah Punah. Ishvaro Gururatmeti Murti Bheda Vibhagine Vyomavad-vyapta Dehaya Dakshinamurtaye Namaha. Living in the present. Does it not sound a strange topic? Living in the present? We live in the present. Where else do we live? Well, when we really look at our mind, become aware of our thoughts, we find that very often we are influenced by the past. Very often we are influenced by the future. And even when we are thinking of present, we have our own projections in the mind and hardly see the present as it is, and therefore perhaps we rarely live in the present. What is meant by present? Present means that which is not past, and that which is not future, it would be present. So Puja Swamiji would do this exercise. What is the duration of the present? The unit of time can be called the present. In the Vedic times, the unit of time was 1 year. Then it was subdivided into 2 half years, into seasons, into months, into the half months, days, and slowly you start thinking about what is the duration of the present. Even if 1 minute is the duration of present, in the minute also there is a past and there is a future, isn't it? If you consider a second as a unit of present, then also there is a past and present, a future, because there is a duration, there is a length of time. If you just keep on subdividing the unit of time, present should be that which is free from the idea of the past as well as free from the idea of the future, then even the smallest unit of time will have, as long as there is even a very minute duration, there is a past which, as long as it can be subdivided, it has a past and the future, isn't it? But is millisecond or microsecond or nanosecond, each has a very tiny duration, and therefore it can be subdivided, in which case it would have a tiny past and tiny future. So what would be the present in the true sense? If the present is free from the past and the future, it is just present, then it must be time which has no dimension, which has no duration. Because if there is a duration, if there is a dimension in time, there would be a past and a future. Even if it is a microsecond, then there is a half microsecond and then second half microsecond, if you are in between. Therefore, present should be dimensionless. Dimensionless time does not remain time. Is there something dimensionless in our life? Whatever we come across has a name, form, has a dimension. And therefore, whatever we come across, whatever is an object of our knowledge, whatever we can objectify will always have a dimension, because we can only perceive what has dimension. So where is the present? There does not seem to be anything that can be called present around, because whatever I become aware of has a certain dimension. And if present means dimensionless, then where is that present? Or who is that present? The answer is, I am the present. Consciousness is the present. What is consciousness? That transcends the time and place and all dimensions. That which sustains the time, place, dimension. Which illumines time, place and dimension. In the Vedantic language, which is adhishthanam, substratum of the time and place, upon which the idea of time and place is superimposed, which is there when the time is, and which is there even when the time is not. That is called consciousness, or the truth. And where is that consciousness? Where is the truth? I am that consciousness. So ideally, living in the present would be living in myself. Is there any advantage in living in the present? Advantage in living in myself? A great advantage, because the present is a self, is a consciousness, is dimensionless, meaning that it is limitless. So the meaning of the word present would be consciousness, which means a self, which is self-existing, self-revealing, self-sufficient, which is free from all limitations, which is limitless. So there is something called present, which is dimensionless. which becomes the basis of all dimensions, but which is without any dimension. And if this entity called present were something different from myself, then it would never be experienced by us. Because we cannot objectify that. We cannot see it, we cannot hear it, we cannot touch it, we can't think of it. Fortunately, that present or the consciousness happens to be myself, and therefore we don't have to see it, we don't have to hear it, we don't have to touch it. The Upanishad describes the self as Shrotrasya Shrotram, Manasah Manah, Vachoha Vacham, So Pranasya Pranaha, Chakshusha Chakshu. A very interesting way of describing this consciousness, the self, the present. As Shrotrasya Shrotram. Literally translated, it means ear of the ear. This ear, E-A-R. It is described as the ear of the ear, the mind of the mind, the speech of the speech, the breath of the breath, the eye of the eye. Do you mean that there is another eye inside, there is another ear inside, there is another mind inside? No, that is not what is meant. What is meant is that the ear is able to perform its function of hearing, because of which the ear of the ear means that because of which the ear is ear. That which imparts the capacity of hearing to the ear, which imparts the capacity of thinking to the mind, that which imparts the capacity of seeing to the eyes, meaning that because of which, the presence of which, the eyes and ears and mind and everything perform their functions, which itself does not perform any function, but without which no function can be performed, which itself does not perform any function, does not do anything, which simply is. Ultimately, what we call the present will reduce to simply isness. It is. But that is or existence is self-revealing, self-shining. Is means it is asti. Asti means is. Asti is Sanskrit. Or am, I am. The next question is, are you aware that you are? Everyone is aware that I am. Meaning that I do not have to seek anybody's opinion, or I do not need anybody's verification to know that I am. I don't need to. Please tell me, am I there or not? I don't need to ask. Let me see whether I am there or not. Let me touch, am I there or not? Let me think whether I am there or not. No, I am. Without having to think, without having to see, without having to touch. I am, and I am self-existing, self-revealing, self-sufficient, limitless. So really speaking, the self or consciousness, in Sanskrit called Atma, very often the same thing is called Brahman, because there is only one reality. Not the reality that I am is different from the reality that you are, to such an extent that the reality that I am is not different from reality that God is. There is one reality that informs everything. Lord Krishna says, I am like the thread in which the pearls or jewels are threaded. Like thread, it sustains everything. The self, the consciousness, the present sustains everything. So living in the present ideally would mean living in my own self, living in the self, the truth, the reality, which is my true nature, which is the true nature of everything and everybody. That would be living in the self. And a person who lives in the self is described by the scriptures, by Bhagavad Gita. When do you live in yourself? That we are all self, there is no question about it. But when do we live in the self? Lord Krishna describes in the Bhagavad Gita, a person is called a wise person or an enlightened person, called Sthita Prajna, a man of abiding wisdom. He lives in the present. So what are his characteristics? This person living in the present, how is he described? Lord Krishna says, Prajahati yada kaman sarvan partha manogatan atmanye vatmana tushtaha sita prajnas tadochyate. So two important characteristics of this person are described. One is Prajahati yada kaman, when he becomes totally free from all the desires or all the needs or expectations. This person, when he becomes free from all the expectations, all the needs, all the demands. The word that Lord Krishna uses, the word is kama. And the Sanskrit word kama is normally translated as desire. But whenever we say freedom from desire, desirelessness, then it creates confusion and nervousness in our mind. How can there, Swami, how can there be life without desires? We are so used to having desires and so thinking that desire is a necessary part, then only we are alive. Therefore, I translated the word kama as a need, as expectation, as demands. So put it this way, that the wise person who is known the self which is presence is free from all the needs and expectations. That sounds good, is it not so? Should sound good. Because in our life, what makes us unhappy are these needs and expectations, really. It may be debatable whether desire makes man happy or not. But expectation definitely makes man happy. How? when it is not fulfilled. So if we look at the sorrow or unhappiness that we feel in our mind, in most cases we will find out that it is a result of an unfulfilled expectation. I expected something from my friend, it was not fulfilled, I was upset. From the spouse, from XYZ, we become unhappy when our expectation is not met with, I don't know why. When my expectation is not met with, when what I expect from you is not respected, I feel that my expectation is rejected. આની કોઈ જરૂર નથી આપણને. શું છે? અચ્છા એ to me it distracts. I don't know. I'm not in the present when this fellow is there, you know. It should not happen. That's it. So when we analyze what creates unhappiness in our life, we will find that it is the result of an unfulfilled expectation. Meaning that if you had no expectation, there will be no unhappiness in our life. Simple equation. Normally they say become free from desire. But I would rather say that we should become free from expectations or demands. What is an expectation? When I have an expectation of you, it means that I do not accept you as you are. I want you to be different from what you are, so that I am happy, you know. Why do I want the whole world to be rearranged around me? See, just now you saw me. I don't want that. I don't want that. I don't want this. Why? That's my demand. What's the reason for the demand? So that I would be happy. As long as that little thing is there and doing ting ting something or the other, it should not happen, but it distracts my attention. I'm not happy. Remove it. So behind all my expectations or demands, whether it is from such thing as this, or from people, or from events, situations, happenings, from wherever I have any expectation, it means that I am not comfortable with the way things are, and I want to change people, I want people to change, I want things to change, I want circumstances to change so that they become conducive to me, so that I become happy. It's amazing how behind every expectation, if we look into the very basis of expectation, we'll find that the basic expectation is that you should make me happy. My basic demand from the world is, whether I call it demand or expectation or in desire, is that the world should make me happy. What is world? Whatever is around me at a given moment is called the world. So as I am sitting here, I would expect you to make me happy. How? By becoming the kind of listeners that I expect you to be. I may have a lot of expectations which I may not reveal to you. because that may make you uncomfortable. But how every moment of our life is characterized by some expectation or demand, whether it is expressed or unexpressed. And when that expectation is not fulfilled, then inside I become unhappy, I may or may not express it. There is some dissatisfaction. So here Lord Krishna says, who is a wise person? Who is the one living in the present? One who is free from all expectations, all demands, which means that one who accepts everything as it is. There was an expectation that that little lamp should be removed because I did not accept things as they were. And so, accepting, being comfortable with the way things are, how wonderful that would be. Imagine that you have no demand from anybody, whoever it is, whatever they are, whatever they do is all right with you, suppose. Whether they talk to you, do not talk to you, do this, that doesn't matter to you. I'm not saying they're indifferent to them. You still love them for what they are. That is called real acceptance. The word acceptance in the true sense means that you love them and that you love whatever it is as they are. As it is, our most problems come from human beings. Our most expectations are from human beings only. We don't care for these chairs and tables and walls and ceilings. Generally we don't. With the trees and rocks and stuff like that, we don't generally have problems with them. Or dogs and cats and anything. Most of our problems come from human beings. Isn't that interesting? It is so difficult. I can love my dog easily. But so difficult to love the spouse, How come I'm able to love my pet relatively easily? Because I accept my pet as it is. I have no expectation that it should talk. I know it cannot talk. I accept it as it is, and therefore I love my pet. But Swamiji, my anger comes out most with the people who are close to me. Yesterday somebody asked a question. Please tell us how to deal with anger, but then what I find is, unfortunately, my anger comes out most before the people whom I love. Why is it so? Because people whom I love, I'm comfortable with. I know that they are not going to judge me. They are not going to reject me, and therefore I can be free with them. With other people I cannot be free. I'm sitting in front of you, but I would not be totally free. I always have a facade. How I appear before you, what I am inside may be different from what I appear before you outside. Because I know that you have your own expectation of how a Swami should be. And therefore, I should conduct myself in keeping with your expectation of me so that you will accept me. And then usually there is a facade. Some kind of an acting is always going on. Closer the person is, less the need of the possibility of rejection. And therefore, I can be more free with the person who is close to me. When I am free, then I am free also to express my feelings, which means all my emotions and stuff like that. And that's the reason why this anger, etc., come out most in front of the people who are close to us. Because we have, the closer the person is, greater the expectation is. And therefore, greater the possibility of my expectation not being fulfilled. And therefore, people who most make me unhappy are the people who are close to me. This is all being said in reference to expectations. How all our unhappiness comes from expectations when they are not fulfilled. So imagine, how would it be you are free from expectations? That's called real freedom. Vedanta talks about moksha. What is moksha? Moksha means freedom from all expectations. Freedom from all demands. Which means ability to accept, gracefully accept or love everything as it is. When would that happen? The same verse says in the second line, Atmanye vatmana tushtaha. The reason why the person, the wise person, is happy with everybody, see, I would not have expectation of you if I am happy with you. If I accept you as you are, if I love you as you are, then there be, I am happy with you, then this is expectation. When would that happen? Atmaneva atmana tushta, when the person is happy with himself. I would be happy with others when I am happy with myself. Atmaneva atmana tushta. The reason why this person is free from all expectations and demands is because he is content with himself by himself. As we said earlier, the expectation behind all expectations is that you should make me happy. And why do I have that demand that you should make me happy? Is because I am not able to make myself happy. Because I am not happy with myself. I do not accept myself as I am. And that is why I have difficulty in accepting other things as they are. And when we do not accept a given thing as it is, then there is an expectation that it should change so that I will be comfortable. Thus, all expectations ultimately arise from my not being happy with myself. It's a very strange thing, isn't it? That I am not happy with myself. My unhappiness with anybody else or anything else originates from my unhappiness with myself. So then, what would be living in the present? Living in myself. When would I be living with myself? When I am happy with myself. When I am in harmony with myself. When I am happy with myself. When I love myself. This love and happiness go together. We love that which makes us happy, and what makes me happy is what I love. You'll find out. Love and happiness go together. At least that is what Vedanta teaches. Asti bhati priyam. Asti means it is, bhati means it shines, priyam means it is dear. The same thing is translated as Satchit Ananda. Asti means it is, and that is Sat or existence. Bhati means it shines, which means consciousness. Then Priyam is equated to Ananda. Because I can be happy only with that which I love. And I would love that only which makes me happy. So happiness and love go together. This is Vedantic equation. So to be happy with myself means to love myself. Isn't that amazing? I have the most problem in the world with whom? With myself. It's also strange. I think that I have a problem with my friend and my family and my spouse and my child and my parent. All of those things, discomfort with others, arise from my absence of love with myself. And therefore, to be happy with myself, to love myself, to abide in love with myself, that would be to abide in myself, that would be to abide in the presence, that means living in the presence. A person who abides in his own self, ideally he lives in the present. And the extent to which we are closer to ourselves, to that extent we live in the present. This living in the present may not happen overnight, but if we understand this basic reality of life, that what we are seeking is happiness or love, and that happiness or love is my own nature, it is not something to be acquired from outside. It is something to be discovered from myself. Something to be manifest from myself. Then life would become very simple. When I know that I do not have to demand happiness and love from you, because whenever the demand is, there is always a possibility of disappointment because you have your own agenda. I demand love from you and you demand love from me. And when do I say you love me? When you do what I want you to do. And when do you say I love you? When I do what you want me to do. That's how. See how life is full of conflicts arising from ignorance. When we ask somebody to love us, we are making an unreasonable demand upon that person, really. That person cares for us, and therefore we are putting that person in a lot of strain by constantly struggling to make us happy. When do I become happy? When you do what I want you to do. But you don't know what I want. Last year when there was a retreat and they brought the food and then I liked it and this have been the same, but I said, I don't like it. Meaning that my likes and dislikes are those which are constantly changing and therefore nobody can cope with it. Even if somebody sincerely wants to make me happy, it is next to impossible because my requirement of happiness keeps on changing as my likes and dislikes change. Even God cannot make me happy. He is also trying. So Vedanta says that the only one who can make me happy is myself. Because the only one who makes me unhappy also is myself. No, don't tell me, Swami, you don't know my boss. You don't know my spouse. You don't know my neighbor. There are so many irritants around and there are so many entities that make my life miserable, Swamiji. How do you accuse me that I am making myself unhappy when there are so many around me which make me unhappy? But nobody can make us unhappy unless we cooperate with them. They can do what they do. It is like sprinkling salt on the wound, They can sprinkle salt, but understand that the wound must be in me, then only there will be pain. Otherwise, sprinkling salt doesn't do anything, isn't it? That when somebody sprinkles salt on me, that causes pain in me, that is because there are two factors involved. What that person does in terms of sprinkling salt and what I contribute in terms of a wound which is there on my body. When they sprinkle salt on the wound, then there is pain. He causes pain to me. But I don't realize that I also have contributed by having a wound. If I don't have that, sprinkling salt would not matter. Meaning that what the world does would not matter if I transform myself. And what is the transformation? Simple, that I become free from all demands and expectations. Vedanta's teaching is very simple. If you understand this basic teaching and basic reality of life, our life would become very simple. Swami, Vedanta is very difficult. It's not practical. The only thing in the practical is Vedanta. And what is simplest is Vedanta. Everything else is complicated because we don't understand what other things they are talking about. If you understand what Vedanta teaches us and compare that to what kind of teaching we get from all of the packages, you'll find out this is the simplest. Because it is based on the realities of life. And that is called reality which is simple. The reality has to be simple and beautiful. And therefore, our reality is simple and beautiful. Therefore, Vedanta is simple and beautiful. So then we have a project now. Living in the present would mean living in myself, meaning abiding in myself, meaning removing all inhibiting factors that inhibit, some factors that deprive me of myself, let us say. Which Vedanta explains as ignorance. And ignorance brings about a sense of individuality, that I am the body, I am the mind, etc. And therefore, this identification, the body, mind, sense complex, creates in me a sense of individuality. When I am individual, then I am small or insignificant. Therefore creates in me a sense of smallness, inadequacy, insignificant. I am not all right as I am. A constantly nagging feeling that I am not all right as I am. Why is it so? Because I look upon myself as a limited, inadequate being. I look upon myself, not that I am. Ignorance creates a wrong perception of myself, whereas the true perception should have been, I am a complete being, I have no lack, no want, I am fine and as I am. That is called knowledge. But ignorance does the opposite. Where there is completeness, ignorance creates this notion that I am an incomplete being, I am inadequate being, I am no good, I am not good enough in my own perception. So I constantly find myself not adequate, not good enough, meaning not able to live up to my own expectation of myself. I have an expectation of myself that I should be a good person. I should be a loving person. I should be a kind person. When I find myself not kind, I become unhappy with myself. I'm not loving, I become unhappy with myself. I'm not generous, I become unhappy with myself. I have expectation of myself, and when I am not able to live up to my own expectation of myself, I become unhappy with myself. Meaning that all that unhappiness in my life springs from being unhappy with myself, because I have a wrong perception of myself. Whereas in reality, I am a complete, limitless being. I look upon myself as incomplete, inadequate, and therefore I am not happy with myself. When will I be happy? When I find myself a complete being, then I'll be completely happy with myself. So that's the project. What's the project? Project is not to become complete, understand? Thank God. Because incomplete being can never become complete regardless of what you do. Incomplete plus something remains incomplete. Is it not so? You add anything to incomplete, it still remains incomplete. Meaning, if I had to become complete, I could never be. I have to see myself as complete. Right now, I see myself as incomplete, I have to see myself as complete. Thank you, Swamiji. From now on, I will say I am complete. Would that solve all my problem? You told I am complete. I am complete. Unfortunately, saying and seeing are different things, Saying and seeing are different things. It is good to say that I am complete, but it is necessary that I should see myself as a complete being. That requires a long program. You know why? Because all the time branding myself as incomplete, inadequate has created all kinds of complexes and all kinds of things within me which we call raga, dvesha, etc. So they deny me the benefit of my true nature, and therefore I have to remove those factors which create that denial. Meaning that I have to get rid of ignorance in my life. Ignorance that causes a sense of ego, I-ness, individuality. That causes mine, this is mine. And this is mine and that is yours. I love myself, I love what is mine, and therefore if you are not in tune with that, I hate. So comes then love and hatred, or raga, dveshas, attachments, aversions. This is all ignorance. This is what, in fact, deprives us of the completeness or happiness which should have been our nature, which we should have been naturally enjoying. But we are deprived of that. So not that we have to become complete, to remove the obstacles to completeness. Thank God. You follow? There is a big difference here. If you have to become complete, then incomplete can never become the complete. But thank God that we are complete, and all we need to do is to remove the inhibitions or obstacles to that completeness. That is possible. Thus Vedanta provides us a program of progressively living in the present. Right now we are not living in the present. Because the past takes over my mind. What we call hurts and guilts of the past, What bothers my mind, Swamiji, I can't meditate. I cannot focus my mind. What is an obstacle to focusing the mind? The hurts and guilts of the past. The past dominates my mind. By bringing up the hurts and guilt that I experienced or went through in the past. What is hurt? Hurt is when I feel that I am treated in an unfair manner. When I am treated in an unjust manner. Why me? Why should this happen to me? I don't deserve it, Swamiji. So when, in my opinion, I am treated in a manner which is not fair, which is not just, no, my own perception of fairness, understand? When you interact with me, you may not even know what is my perception of fairness, and therefore you may not have intended to hurt me. But very often I get hurt by others without their attempting that or without even their knowing that. Of course, there are many instances where people deliberately hurt me. But there may be an instance also when the other person did not intend to hurt me. But I got hurt because of my perception of what that person did. See, we live in our own private world, understand? We do not see the world as it is. We do not, in fact, live in the world as the world is. We live in our own private world where we have our own opinions and perception of what the world is. Meaning that when I am talking to you, I may not be talking to you as you really are, but I may be talking to you as I think you are. You understand this? I already have an opinion about you from my past experience or whatever. And therefore, I interact with the person not as a person is, but as I perceive that person. And therefore, I have my own interpretation of what you did to me. And my interpretation may be that what you did was not fair, was not just, was not right. I did not deserve it. And all of this is my conclusion, you follow? You may have done it also. I'm not saying that people don't do that. They do it. They intend to insult somebody. They intend to punish them. Sometimes cruelty comes out. They literally do that. But important is not what they do. What is important is how I perceive what they do to me. If in my perception you did something that was hurtful to me, that was unfair to me, that was unjust to me, then I have a sense of hurt. Now that keeps on happening. As we exchange, we keep on interacting in the world, then these things keep on happening. We may not express it outwardly, but keep a little hurt. You talk to me all night, but not the way you should talk. You smiled all night, but your smile was not quite as much it should be. The less I think you don't care for me. A little more, I think you're making fun of me. Constantly I'm interpreting whatever it is I'm interacting with, and more often than not, my interpretation is that I think you're not been fair to me, I think. So little hurt keeps on piling up. And certainly when you act out of anger, then certainly it's hurtful behavior, no question about it. So I become object of people's anger. I become object of people's jealousy. I become object of people's grudge. Our Swami used to say, I need not do anything to invite jealousy. Just by being there, the people are jealous of me. You don't need to do anything to make other people jealous of you. They're just jealous of you. Why? That's what it is. So we become subject to jealousies of other people, become subject of anger of other people, become subject of hatred of other people, and therefore their behavior becomes hurtful behavior. There's violence in their behavior, and thus we come across, we are left with a feeling of hurt. Very common. What happens is that we do not settle account with that hurt. That hurt is stored in the mind. Another hurt happens, that is further stored. It's all piled up. We are not in the habit of resolving things, See, in the West, people are perhaps clearer than sometimes people from East or in India. That a person will come and say that I felt hurt by what you said. I felt that your treatment to me was not fair. They'll come across and say that. That gives the other person opportunity to clarify. I did not mean it, I'm sorry. Things are settled. But we keep on piling up this hurt and piling up the hurt and these hurts, when do they bother us? When we start meditating. Usually, we avoid confronting this mind having this hurt. And we keep our mind engaged in one activity or other and then escape from that, we distract ourselves from that. But when you are meditating, there is no distraction. All those fellows come out then because they did not get my attention so far. I effectively avoided them, but now they know that they cannot avoid me. Like a little child, Mom, may I have candy? No. Candy? No. And then mom's friend comes to visit. And mom is talking to the friend. Then I pull at her sari. Mom, may I have that candy? Take it. Because she doesn't want to appear like a strict person, before other people. So the child knows. It seeks an opportunity when it will get attention. Children are pretty smart. We were all yesterday talking. A little child comes, maybe 8-year-old, 10-year-old, and just comes and stares at this person. So all conversation stops, And that child wants attention. Because when the elders are talking, the poor children are ignored and therefore they don't like it, they want attention. So they'll do something to disrupt you. Similarly, the hurt, etc., our mind is such that when we are in a vulnerable position, that is when it will assert itself. That is why these things come when we are meditating. And the counterpart of hurt is called guilt. I felt hurt when somebody was unjust to me or unfair to me, in my opinion, understand? When I become subject to their anger, jealousy, hatred, then I become hurt. But by the same token, I have my own anger and jealousies and hatred also, isn't it? I'm not much different from others. So there are times when I act out of anger, when I act out of jealousy, when I act out of hatred. At that time, my behavior becomes hurtful to others. And that leaves a sense of guilt in my mind. When I feel that somebody treated me in an unfair manner, then there is hurt. And when I find that I treated somebody in an unfair manner, I said something that I should not have said, I did something that I should not have done, then there is guilt. These are the traits of ego. How do you know that we have ego? When there is hurt and guilt. The ego it is who feels hurt and guilty. So all these hurts and guilts are all from the past. They are all piled up in our mind because we have not resolved them. When the guilt happened, if I right away resolved it, well and good. I remember in the olden days, I had an uncle, he always had white, starch and iron clothes. He was some executive in an organization and always. When drinking tea, sometimes a cup of tea drops on the shirt. Right away, he would put the tea aside, wipe out that. Then the stain may go away. But if you do not do that right away, allow the stain to remain there for a day or two, then more longer it remains, more difficult it becomes to remove that. So all these hurts and guilts are like little stains on the fabric of our mind. It becomes stained and stained and stained. We have not addressed them. We have not resolved them. And therefore, they're all accumulated. They're all built up. And that creates a force from within. And so, that hurt and guilt very often force me to act in an unbecoming manner. I hurt other people. So this is one factor, an important factor as to how the past dominates the present. That whenever my mind is overcome by the thoughts of hurt and guilt, it is the past that is dominating the present. I am not in the present when my mind is overcome by hurt or guilt, meaning that I have gone back to the past. And that's why I don't like myself. I don't like a guilty self, really. I don't like myself when I realize that I did something I should not have done. Isn't it so? A guilty self I don't like. So guilt prevents me from liking myself. And hurt also does that. When I am hurt, I feel helpless. I can't retaliate. When you are able to do when somebody hurts, then you will retaliate by hurting them, and that is settled. I don't know whether, but at least in your mind it is settled. But what can you do when your boss openly insults you? You can do nothing. And thus, very often, we are treated in unfair manner, and we are not able to retaliate or not able to do anything about it. We have to swallow that. Swallow our pride. There is helplessness. A helpless self also I do not like. A guilty self also I do not like. A helpless self also I do not like. And that is how this hurts and guilt create a sense of dislike about myself, being unhappiness about myself, and that is why it is an obstacle to living in the present. Therefore, for being able to live in the present, our mind should be progressively, it should become free from these hurts and guilt. That's the past. Then there is future. Then there is present. Here we'll take a break and come back after 45 minutes. Because the day is good, people can have walk.
We'll have the nature walk. There's a nice river